Most people do not wake up one morning and decide to become average. There is no moment where someone sits down, looks at their life and says, "I choose mediocrity." That is not how it happens. It never happens that way. What actually happens is quieter. It happens in the small moments. The ones that feel too minor to matter. The ones where you tell yourself it is just this once, or just today, or that tomorrow you will do better. But tomorrow arrives, and you make the same small choice. And then it happens again and again. Until the choice is no longer a choice. Until it becomes automatic. Until it becomes you. That is what most people never understand. Average is not a destination that someone stumbles into by accident. Average is trained. It is built slowly and consistently through the daily decisions that feel too small to take seriously. The decision to sleep past your alarm. The decision to skip the hard task and do the easy one instead. The decision to open your phone when you should be thinking. The decision to say I'll start Monday when Monday already came and went 3 weeks ago. Every one of those decisions, taken alone, seems harmless. But decisions are never alone. They travel in patterns, and patterns become identity. Think about what you did yesterday, not the version of yesterday you would describe to someone else. The actual version, the private one. When did you wake up? What was the first thing you reached for? What did you avoid? What did you tell yourself you would do that you did not do? I am not asking to make you feel guilty. I am asking because those answers tell you exactly who you are training yourself to become. Not who you want to be, not who you plan to be eventually, who you are becoming right now, through the pattern of your actual behavior. This is the part that is uncomfortable to sit with. Most people carry a version of themselves in their mind that is better than who they are living as. They believe they are capable of more. They have goals, they have ideas, they have a quiet sense that they have not yet reached what they are supposed to reach. And that feeling is not wrong. The capacity is real. But capacity means nothing if the daily habits are working against it. You can be deeply talented and still train yourself into mediocrity. Talent does not protect you from your habits. Nothing does. The average person does not fail because they lack ability. They fail because their habits have slowly trained them to expect less from themselves. Expectations are not just thoughts. They are the product of repeated experience. When you repeatedly avoid difficulty, your mind begins to expect that difficulty should be avoided. When you repeatedly choose comfort over effort, your mind begins to treat comfort as the stand. When you repeatedly quit when something becomes hard, your mind learns that hard things are things you quit. You are not just building behaviors. You are building a belief system about what you are capable of. And that belief system becomes the ceiling you live under. Consider the habit of sleeping late, not occasionally, habitually. Every morning you sleep past when you intended to wake up, you are sending a message to yourself. You are telling yourself that how you plan to live matters less than how you feel in the moment. You are teaching your mind that your own commitments are negotiable, that the version of you that made the plan last night is allowed to be overruled by the version of you that wants 5 more minutes this morning. And if that negotiation happens every morning, what do you think it does to your relationship with your own word? What do you think it does to your self-trust? Self-trust is not built through promises. It is built through follow-through. Every time you do what you said you were going to do, even when it is uncomfortable, you are depositing into the account of your own credibility with yourself. And every time you do not, you are withdrawing. Most people who struggle with discipline are not struggling because they lack willpower in some mysterious sense. They are struggling because they have made so many withdrawals that the account is nearly empty. They no longer fully believe they will do what they say. And when you do not believe in yourself, every difficult task becomes harder than it needs to be, because you are carrying doubt on top of the difficulty. Now think about what endless scrolling does to a person. Not in one sitting. Over months. Over years. Your attention is the most valuable resource you own. Everything you build, everything you learn, everything you create comes through your ability to focus. And focus is not just a skill, it is a practice. It is something you either maintain or erode, depending on how you spend your attention every day. When you spend hours consuming short, fast, endlessly rotating content, you are not just wasting time. You are training your brain to expect constant stimulation. You are training it to become restless with stillness. You are making it harder to sit with a difficult book, a complex problem, or your own thoughts for any meaningful length of time. And then you wonder why you cannot concentrate. You wonder why everything feels overwhelming. The habit answered that question long before you thought to ask it. Excuses operate the same way. Every time you explain away a failure rather than examining it, you are reinforcing a pattern of avoiding responsibility. Responsibility is not punishment. Responsibility is power. When you take ownership of why your life is the way it is, you also take ownership of the ability to change it. But the person who is always explaining why things are not their fault has given that power away. They have made themselves a passenger in their own life. And passengers do not get to choose the destination. Here is what I want you to understand. Everything I have described, the late mornings, the avoidance, the distraction, the excuses, these are not character flaws. They are trained responses, which means the same logic applies in the other direction. Excellence is also trained. Discipline is also trained. High standards are also trained. The person you admire, who wakes up early and works with consistency and builds something real over years, they are not fundamentally different from you in terms of what they were born with. What is different is what they have trained, what they have practiced, what they have refused to negotiate away. Waking up with purpose sounds like a philosophy, but it is actually a habit. It begins with the decision, made the night before, to treat the next morning as something worth preparing for. It continues with the act of rising when the alarm sounds, not because it feels good, but because you said you would. Over time, that act becomes smaller. Not because it stops being a discipline, but because it stops being a debate. The discipline becomes identity. You do not wake up wondering if you will get up. You are the person who gets up. That shift from behavior to identity is where real change lives. Training the body is the same. Not for appearance, not for vanity, because the physical practice of pushing past resistance every day builds a relationship with difficulty that transfers into everything else you do. When you regularly do something that is hard, something that your body resists and your mind wants to stop, you are repeatedly proving to yourself that discomfort does not have to mean stopping. That is not a metaphor. That is a literal neurological pattern being built in real time. The person who trains physically and the person who avoids physical challenge are not just different in fitness. They are building different beliefs about what they can endure. Reading and a broader habit of learning deliberately is not something most people lack time for. It is something most people have traded for something easier, and I understand the pull of easier. Easier is always available, but easier does not compound. A book read carefully, an idea understood deeply, a skill developed over months. These are things that quietly accumulate into a version of you that is genuinely more capable. Not more impressive, more capable. There is a difference. Impressiveness is performed, capability is built, and capability cannot be faked when the moment requires it. Focus is not a personality trait that some people are lucky enough to have. Focus is a practice of protecting your attention from the things that would rather have it for free. Every notification you allow, every distraction you accommodate, every conversation you have that is empty and repetitive, these are not neutral choices. They are costs paid with the currency of your concentration. The person who protects their focus protects their ability to do work that matters. The person who gives their attention away freely is left with fragments of energy and then wonders why nothing ever gets finished, why projects stall, why the gap between who they are and who they want to be never seems to close. Choosing long-term progress over short-term comfort is perhaps the most fundamental discipline of all, because it runs against the default of every human nervous system. We are wired to move toward pleasure and away from discomfort in the immediate moment. That wiring kept our ancestors alive, but it is not a system designed for building a meaningful life in a complex world. The work required to become exceptional is always uncomfortable now and rewarding later. Always. There is no version of genuine growth that is comfortable in the moment it is happening. And so the person who cannot delay gratification, who cannot choose the harder thing now for the better outcome later, is a person whose habits will always produce the same results, because they are always choosing based on how things feel right now instead of where the choice leads. Becoming exceptional is not about one decision. It is not about one morning, 1 week, 1 month of intensity. It is about refusing, repeatedly, across hundreds of small moments, to repeat the behaviors that produce ordinary results. It is the quiet accumulation of small refusals. The refusal to hit snooze when you said you would rise. The refusal to avoid the hard task because you are not in the mood. The refusal to consume another hour of empty content when you could spend 30 minutes building something. The refusal to make an excuse when an honest assessment would serve you better. None of these refusals feels significant in the moment, but compounded across months and years, they become the difference between a life built and a life drifted through. The life you are living tomorrow is being trained right now, not by your aspirations, not by your potential, not by the person you plan to become when conditions are finally right. It is being trained by the habits you are practicing today, by the choices you make when no one is watching and nothing is forcing your hand, by what you do in the ordinary moments, which are the only moments that actually exist. The extraordinary moments that people celebrate in public are the product of the ordinary moments that no one ever sees. There is no shortcut around this. There is no version of the outcome without the process. There is only what you practice, becoming what you are. You are not here to be average, but wishing that is not enough. Believing it is not enough. You have to train for what you want to become with the same consistency that average is trained for by those who never examine their habits. The question is not whether you are being trained. You are always being trained. The question is what your daily choices are training you for. Take that seriously. Comment below. I refuse to be average.